Hi, I'm Wes Whittaker, and welcome back to the channel, where we explore the mind, mental health, and transformative healing practices. Today, we embark on an enlightening exploration into the intricate world of trauma, uncovering its profound impacts on the brain and well-being. Taking a unique perspective, we will explore a diverse array of healing methods, from the embodied practices of somatic experiencing to the focused techniques of EMDR and Brainspotting, alongside Judith Herman's structured stages of recovery. Guided by the embrace of compassion and mindfulness, we will traverse some of trauma's impacts and ways to heal it, seeking understanding, resilience, and the promise of renewal. Before we begin, it's important to acknowledge that trauma is challenging, and sometimes this topic can be difficult to listen to. In today's talk, I will not be talking about any specific types of trauma, but will mainly be covering how trauma can affect us and approaches to recovering from trauma. But if at any point you feel dysregulated or overwhelmed, please take a break and possibly make use of your support system. With that said, I believe this information could be very beneficial to anyone looking into the process of healing their trauma or helping someone else with their trauma. Firstly, it's important to note that trauma isn't just an event. It's a profound shock to the system that can alter the very structure of our brains. As neuroscientist Bessel van der Kolk puts it, trauma is not just an event that took place, it is also the imprint left by that experience on the mind, brain, and body. This imprint can lead to a range of challenges, from emotional instability to physical ailments. When we experience trauma, whether it's a single intense event or chronic exposure over time, our brain's response mechanisms are profoundly affected. The amygdala, our brain's alarm system, becomes hyperactive, leading to heightened anxiety and emotional reactivity. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and decision-making, can become impaired, making it harder to regulate emotions and assess threats accurately. However, there's hope in the brain's incredible ability to change, known as neuroplasticity. As Norman Doidge, author of The Brain That Changes Itself, beautifully describes, neurons that fire together, wire together. This means that through targeted therapeutic practices like mindfulness, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and trauma-focused therapies, we can rewire our brains to heal from trauma's impact. All right, now let's talk about some of Judith Herman's 5 stages of recovery. In her seminal work, Trauma and Recovery, she outlines a comprehensive approach to trauma healing through a 5-stage process, which includes safety, remembrance, and mourning, reconnection with ordinary life, integration, and commonality. First, let's talk about safety. A key component of trauma is disconnection from others and a difficulty in feeling safe in relationships. Whatever approach one chooses to work through their trauma, it's important to foster safe and secure relationships and to work with a professional in a trusted and safe environment to begin recovery. As Herman emphasizes, without safety, neither psychological nor physiological stabilization is possible. Resourcing is a valuable technique used in trauma recovery to help individuals regulate their emotions and physical sensations when dealing with distressing experiences. It involves identifying and focusing on positive memories, places, people, or objects that bring a sense of safety, comfort, and strength. By consciously bringing these resources to mind, individuals can anchor themselves in the present moment and create a sense of stability. This process enables them to manage overwhelming sensations and emotions more effectively, fostering a feeling of empowerment and resilience. Teaching these practices involves guiding individuals to identify their unique resources and encouraging them to practice recalling these resources regularly, especially in moments of distress. This approach aligns with Judith Herman's safety stage in trauma recovery, which emphasizes establishing stability and a sense of safety as a foundation for healing. As a licensed therapist trained in trauma recovery, I want to emphasize the importance of this step, as it is important to make sure you or the person you are helping are both safe and capable of self-regulating before you begin to work directly through the trauma in any way. Now let's move on to the remembrance and mourning stage. People working through trauma are encouraged to confront and process traumatic memories, which is essential for healing. This stage involves validating the experiences and emotions associated with trauma. Now let's talk about reconnection with ordinary life. Individuals should reintegrate into daily routines and relationships, as this promotes resilience and a sense of normalcy. It involves rebuilding trust in oneself and others. Now, let's talk about integration. This stage focuses on creating a coherent narrative of the traumatic experience within the broader context of one's life story. Integration allows for personal growth and meaning making. Many approaches utilize a narrative technique. Trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, tf-cbt, is one such method that focuses on creating the narrative of the traumatic experience using a safe and structured process. It is primarily designed for children, adolescents, and families. So if you fall into that age range, or you're a parent with a child that is working through trauma, you might want to consider tf-cbt. And now for the fifth stage, commonality. It's important during this stage for individuals to reconnect socially to the larger world, which may also include attending support groups. Recognizing the universality of trauma and its effects fosters solidarity and reduces isolation. It empowers individuals to advocate for systemic change and support others in their healing journeys. Whichever method you use to work through trauma, those 5 stages can be instrumental in the recovery process. Now, let's talk about Peter Levine's Somatic Experiencing. Peter Levine's groundbreaking work in somatic experiencing highlights how trauma can get stuck in the nervous system, leading to persistent systems and emotional dysregulation. Through somatic experiencing, which focuses on the body's sensations and rhythms, individuals can gradually release stored trauma and restore a sense of safety and balance. Levine emphasizes trauma is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside the absence of an empathetic witness. Levine also highlights 4 phases of the nervous system activation. In response to trauma, our nervous system can cycle through 4 main phases, from hyperarousal fight or flight response, hypoarousal freeze response, to states of anxiety and depression. The goal of healing is to return to a balanced baseline where we feel safe and resilient. As Peter Levine describes, trauma is a fact of life. It does not, however, have to be a life sentence. Research indicates that somatic experiencing regulates the autonomic nervous system, ANS, leading to improved ANS function, and stress reduction. Neuroimaging studies demonstrate SE's impact on brain regions involved in emotional regulation, aiding in the processing and integration of traumatic memories. SE also contributes to significant reductions in PTSD symptoms such as intrusive thoughts and hypervigilance, while promoting long-term resilience and rewiring stress response patterns. This evidence underscores SE's role in trauma recovery and its integration into trauma-informed therapeutic practices. Now, let's talk more about top-down approaches such as EMDR and Brainspotting. Unlike somatic experiencing's more bottom-up approach that primarily engages the healing process through the body, EMDR and Brainspotting are top-down therapies that directly engage cognitive and neural processing. EMDR, also known as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, quite the mouthful, involves bilateral stimulation through eye movement, taps, or sounds, facilitating the reprocessing of traumatic memories. Francine Shapiro, the founder of EMDR, explains when disturbing material is presented and the processing system is activated with bilateral stimulation, information processing is enhanced. Brainspotting, developed by David Grand, focuses on identifying and processing neurophysiological sources of trauma in the brain. It targets specific brain spots associated with unresolved trauma, helping to release emotional and physiological distress. David Grand describes it as where you look affects how you feel. Neuroscientific research suggests these therapeutic approaches, showing that trauma alters brain structures and functions. Studies indicate that EMDR can effectively reduce symptoms of PTSD by facilitating adaptive information processing and desensitizing emotional reactions. Similarly, Brainspotting has shown promising results in accessing and processing deeper brain centers linked to trauma. While each approach, somatic experiencing, EMDR, and Brainspotting, offers distinct benefits, integrating them can provide a comprehensive path to healing. This holistic approach acknowledges the complexity of trauma and honors individuals' experiences in recovery. Another important aspect of recovery can be making use of mindfulness. Drawing from Rick Hanson's insights in his book, Buddha's Brain, we discover how mindfulness and meditations can sculpt the brain's neural pathways. By cultivating awareness and practicing gratitude and compassion, we not only strengthen positive neural circuits, but also gradually weaken the grip of traumatic memories and negative emotions. Through trauma-informed practices like mindfulness, somatic therapies, and compassionate self-care, we can support our nervous system returning to its natural, resilient state. It's about cultivating awareness of our bodily sensations, honoring our emotional experiences, and fostering connections that promote healing and growth. Now, let's talk about some action steps for healing. If you or someone you know is navigating trauma's effects, here are some actionable steps to consider. Practice mindfulness. Engage in regular mindfulness meditation to build resilience and enhance emotional regulation. Seek therapy. Explore trauma-informed therapies like EMDR, Brainspotting, or Somatic Experiencing, tailored to address trauma's impact on the body and mind. And finally, build support networks. Surround yourself with supportive relationships and community resources that understand and validate your experiences. In conclusion, trauma recovery is a multifaceted journey that integrates understanding, compassion, and therapeutic practices. Embracing mindfulness and compassion allows us to reshape neural pathways and nurture emotional resilience, whether through bottom-up approaches like somatic experiencing or top-down methods such as EMDR and Brainspotting, or following Judith Herman's stages of recovery. The overarching goal remains constant: to restore balance, foster resilience, and promote holistic well-being. As Rumi wisely said, "The wound is a place where the light enters you." Let us journey forward with courage and hope, embracing the transformative potential of healing from trauma. All right, thank you for joining me today. If you got anything out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Also, feel free to leave a comment or question below. And if you want to learn more about me and the work I do, you can visit my website at weswhitaker.com. Thanks for listening.